Whether you are a veteran singer or you are just starting out on your singing journey, it is never a bad idea to get back to basics. Welcome back to Singing Tips with LJD Studios, the space where we take difficult singing concepts and break them down so you can actually understand and implement them for better singing. I'm Laura, and today we are talking about one of the foundational components of singing, and no, it's not breathing, although that's a good one too. But before we get into it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you haven't already, download my free guide, The 3-Tiered Approach to Becoming a Better Singer, linked in the description. Additionally, if you would like some feedback on your singing from yours truly, but you're not ready to take the plunge into private lessons, check out my membership option. It's a low-cost, low-time commitment way to study singing without ever having to ask the question, am I doing it right? Okay, so foundational component of singing is not necessarily what you think. Vowels are what we are talking about today, and understanding what vowel you are singing and when and why is going to really change the experience that you have. So stay tuned. Okay, so why are vowels so important in singing? When we sing on a vowel. It is possible to sing on many consonants, but generally speaking, that's not what we do. Now, sometimes you might sustain an M if you're humming, but generally speaking, when we are singing on vowels. And the vowel that we sing is going to affect the tone quality that we produce. Some vowels will work better on certain pitches or for certain sounds than others. That's a more complicated subject known as vowel modification. But for our general purposes today of just getting back to basics, we're talking about the vowels that we encounter when we are singing and understanding what we're doing when we're sustaining those vowels. So if you were a classical singer, which I'm kind of doubting you are. You might be. I don't know. I feel like there are not as many classical singers out there these days, and those that are tend to go the more traditional route of private lessons at conservatories. They're not necessarily digging into the YouTube videos, but I could be wrong. But regardless, when you study singing from a classical method, you really are focused on 5 primary vowel sounds. And that's why classical singers almost always start out singing in Italian, because in Italian, there are 5 vowel sounds. These vowel sounds are a, e, o, and u. Those are the 5 primary sounds. And when we sing in Italian, or when we sing with these 5 primary vowels, what we're concerned about is making a really clean vowel sound. And this is what is part of what is known as the Bel Canto method. Right? So if you are an English speaker, which I'm assuming if you're watching my video, you likely are. If you are an English speaker, our language is riddled with chewy diphthongs, and I will get into what diphthongs are in a moment. But when you sing in the Bel Canto style, diphthongs are not quite so chewy. In fact, when there is a diphthong, you still split up the vowels so that you hear 2 clear, distinct vowel sounds at specific times. Again, table that for a second later. The point is there are 5 vowel sounds and you hear them very distinctly and very clearly, and that's the entire point behind it. And pretty much any vocal exercise you do is usually going to use one of those 5 vowel sounds. And you're going to be really focused on, can I make it a clean sound? So if you're singing ah, right, you're trying to get it away from or ah, right? And just ah. Or another one that you might hear all the time would be like when I do that exercise, I am going through the 5 primary vowels and I am working to make them very clean sounding, very sort of pure sounding. So those 5 vowel sounds are a, e, o, and u. Again, okay? Or in the way that I just did it, it was e, a, o, u. You could also do u, o, a, e. That tends to be the order that you hear them in sometimes. Do not confuse the letter for the sound, okay? So one of the vowels, for instance, is the letter A. The sound is ah, okay? That's a really important distinction to make, especially in English, which is not a phonetic language. The letter that you see and the sound that you make may or may not be the same thing. Now we're dealing with English, and there are more than just 5 vowels in English. I would like to add 3 more for you. So you've got the 5 sort of Italianate bel canto style vowels, and those will show up in English. The other ones you need to factor in if you are singing in English is I, as in sit or lit or mit or kit. As in done or won or sun. And as in soot or, like the dog says, woof. Sorry, I've been reading a lot of like animal books to my son lately, so animal sounds are in my brain, but would be the other one. You're going to actually see more as a modification for an L or an R, like river, right? Or twinkle, right? Versus twinkle or river. That's where that vowel is. It's known as a schwa. You would write it as an upside down lowercase e. Okay, so those are the 3 other vowel sounds that you need to add into your brain when you're thinking about singing in English. Okay, so now I mentioned that I would also discuss diphthongs. In English, we have tons of diphthongs. The biggest one that comes up in my mind is the letter I. And remember, the letter and the sound that it produces are not the same thing. So the letter is I. The 2 vowel sounds that you're going to get out of that are ah and e. I, I, I. Whenever we have a diphthong, generally speaking, we are going to sustain the first of the 2 vowel sounds. So if the word you were singing was I, like and I will always love you, you are going to say ah. And I will. At the very, very end comes that E vowel. But presuming that you are an English speaker, you are likely going to do that secondary vowel at the right time, or you're going to include it sort of just naturally by virtue of being an English speaker. So you just really want to focus on the first of the 2 vowel sounds when you encounter a diphthong. Other common one is ow, like in the word house. And the vowel there is also ah. It's ah to oo. House, 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 house. Okay? So know that if you're singing the word house or mouse or I don't know, whatever word has ow in it, ah is the vowel sound that you are going to sustain. Okay? And then the last one is a, as in say or way or may. Okay? The vowel sound there is a, say, may, made, weighed. Okay, so it's a to e, but you are going to sustain the vowel and sort of forget about the e vowel at the end of it. Okay, so how are you going to use all of this now? Remember what I said at the very beginning. When we sing on a vowel. So if you are ambiguous in any way about what vowel you are sustaining, there's going to be confusion in the body about what resonating space we're looking for, because that's ultimately what happens. When we shape a vowel, we create a certain resonating space in your physical instrument. Your throat, your mouth are your resonating space as a singer. And every time you shape a new vowel, you create a different resonating space. So if you don't know what vowel you're singing, if you're not clear about that, you are not going to be clear about your resonance, and it's going to create some difficulty in all likelihood in your singing. Okay, now what I am not saying is that you need to go through and always be thinking like, what is the vowel sound? What is the vowel sound? If you are singing in a language that is a language that you are fluent in, or maybe like your native tongue, a lot of it's going to come super, super naturally, and you're not going to have to think terribly hard about it. But if you are having difficulty on a certain line in a song, that's where I would say, let's go through and let's make sure you know what vowel you're saying. And maybe you need to focus on making a really clear vowel. My guess is you're encountering a diphthong. That tends to be the culprit for most people. And that's where there's confusion, because we slow roll from one vowel sound into the next. And there's all this confusion about what the resonance is doing for the brain and for the body. So it's in all likelihood, you might have a diphthong. But regardless, I'd go through. And let's say you're doing row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. I'm going to use the phrase gently down the stream. I'm going to go through it. And let's say that the word stream is really giving me trouble and I don't know why. Well, I'm going to go through that whole line. I'm going to go, okay, the word gently, the first vowel sound is eh, the second is e. Down, ooh, that's a diphthong. It's going to be ah to oo, ah oo, ah oo. So I'm going to think ah. Ah is going to be the vowel for down. The, remember we talked about that's that additional vowel sound for English? The, and then stream, E. So it's E, I, E. And then I'm going to maybe just practice it like that. E, I, E. Make sure I'm really clear on all those vowels. Then I can add the consonant back in. Gently down the stream. Okay, feels better. So that's one way you can sort of get back to basics in your singing, is to look at the line and make sure you know exactly which vowel you are saying. If it's in English, try to choose one of those 8 that I've given you. One of either the 5 primary bel canto vowels or the 3 additional English vowels. Make sure you are choosing one of those vowels, and that's what you are sustaining, that you're not sustaining a consonant, that you're not slow rolling a diphthong. All of that is going to drastically improve your tone quality. So especially if you're like, I just don't like the way I sound, or it sounds too talky, it doesn't sound like I'm singing, or it doesn't sound pretty, figure out the vowel, sing one vowel sound, make it clear and make it consistent, and I promise you, the sound of your singing voice will improve. Good luck, you guys. Happy singing.